Alright, so the next faction I'm going to be talking about is the Arevaci. The Arevaci are a nice faction. I use them a lot. I like them a lot, and I'm going to tell you why. So the Arevaci apparently are indigenous Iberians. They came from Gaul and settled in Numantia. This kind of explains why they are different from the Lusitani. Their core unit, Scutari, does not have the shield defense of Iberian units. This may be because they wield a Celtic shield that is supposed to look like a Scutarius, which is Latin for shield. Scutari, however, are still my favorite mid-tier medium melee unit because they get the job done as second-line infantry. Scutari are maneuverable, have the same weapon damage as the Romans, and have decent armor. Their melee attack gives them an edge on the charge versus chosen swordsmen, which is always appreciated. They can be good on the flanks, but I wouldn't recommend that against factions that can win easily on the charge and break your units with ease. The best feature about Scutari is the fact that if they win an engagement, which they should most of the time, against similarly priced units, they have the speed and flexibility to join another one and hopefully win it. The Arevaci's biggest downfall is probably the reliance of Scutari to win battles. Scutari have good armor, but there is the possibility that shield armor is not taken into account in melee. Perhaps it is only good for the charge. I say this because Falksmen and Thracian warriors get decimated on the charge by any cav unit that is heavy or higher, whereas Scutari and Fierce Sailor swords don't. This theory might mean that Scutari, who have less body armor than the average Gallic unit, are vulnerable if they take too much prior damage or they don't get a good charge. Gallic hunters are good for hitting Scutari before an engagement, and the Nervi can hit hard on a charge, and still have good weapon damage after that. Again, they do excel as second-line infantry, but try not to flank if your center will crumble quickly, as this is a surefire way to lose infantry. To summarize, flexibility and maneuverability is key. Staying in one spot like the Romans won't work against other barbaric factions, and definitely will not work against Eastern factions. Just make most of your gameplay revolve around supporting Scutari and you should be fine. I definitely recommend this faction to new players, should they have the Hannibal at the Gates DLC. In my opinion, the Arevaci beat the Arverni, but they lose to the Nervi. Now what does your typical Arevaci army look like? I'm going to just do mine because I like mine the most. Sometimes I like to bring 5 Scutari. Every now and then I'll bring like a painted warriors. Just remember that statistically speaking, they will lose in prolonged fights against chosen swords if they take like precursor damage or they get charged at. So it might be a very, very good idea to charge with units like Iberian Cav and then follow up with Scutari, because these guys cannot take a lot of prior damage where their health and low morale comes into effect. They have 5 less morale and I think the same health as the Arverni's chosen swordsman. No, they have the same. Yeah, they have the same health but less morale. Scutari spearmen are good for like frontline infantry. They have the same missile block as Scutari, same armor, same health, morale, but they can prevent frontal cavalry charges from anything except shock cav in general. Missile infantry wise, you tend to rely more on Blair slingers than the other 2 units. Melee cavalry wise, Celtiberian cav get the job done most of the times. When you're going up against Lusitani, just be careful, because these guys will lose to them. You'd be better off with noble cavalry against them, because noble cavalry are not only better than Scutari cav, but they can also frontally charge veteran shield warriors and come away clean. The Iberians have to find a way to get into combat without taking prior damage, and like I said, frontal charges might be the way to go, but it's up to you. Cantabrian cavalry are very questionable, but they are pretty good. They're as good as Tarentines when it comes to skirmishing. Actually, they're a bit better when it comes to missile damage, but they're light and their armor is bad. They also are bad in melee, so after they throw their precursors, or javelins rather, they become very pointless and useless. Now, Guerrilla Warriors are a unit that both the Arevaci and the Lusitani have. I rarely bring them because I don't need them. However, they are pretty good against hoplites because hoplites have low weapon damage in general, and they tend to have a better, like a good hit chance against Scutari, who, although have good armor, have less melee defense than Guerrilla Warriors. I don't bring them, like I said. Sometimes I'll bring in extra noble fighters if I can. Scutari spearmen are faster than Scutari. That's a little fun fact. Balearic slingers are a good idea. Celtiberian cav are a good idea. Iberian cav are okay for suiciding. They're also pretty good for chasing down skirmishers. So try to use them to chase down skirmishers if you can. So I'm going to take a 15-second break and be back to do the final faction today, the Lusitani.